Hello everyone, hope you're doing well. With the recent workshop renovation, it feels like a new chapter has kicked off, and that means that a previous one has closed. And I was thinking, what the kids tend to do these days is those S tier lists, or like they rank things, and at the top, for whatever reason, S is the best. But you see this form factor show up in YouTube all the time, so, I'm with it. I'm hip, I have Riz, and not skibbity. So let's take a look back at the last 10 years, and we're going to go through every single one of my videos in chronological release order and rank them. My criterias are this. A tier is something that's a really good result that I'm very proud of. C tier is something that I knew even when I was making it, I was kind of phoning it in. It's a lazy video or a lazy project. That means B tier is everything in the middle. It's good, it's fine, it's a serviceable episode, nothing special. S tier is, as always, the God tier, or the very special things, and then I'm having a D tier, which is videos that I actively wish I had never produced. Now, a lot of these videos you'll see are unlisted. They're still available if you want to see them. They're in the All Crafting Videos playlist. Unlisted videos can still be found there. They just don't show up in search results and YouTube doesn't promote them. I don't want to risk YouTube recommending a next of one of my old videos and people think it's representative of my channel now. So that's why they're unlisted. It's to help with the algorithm. But anyway, this is going to take a while. So get a snack, get a drink, settle in, get cozy, or maybe you're putting this on to fall asleep to. And let's go back to the beginning and self-rate all of my videos. We'll begin with what I'll call the first 6. I'm going to group them together because really they're all part of one video, one concept. I just broke them out for extra content. But I'm going to put these in A tier, not because they're particularly good videos, but they were the first. They put me on the map. They have strong views. So first 6, the explanation for why a 1 1/4 inch grid is better, and then how to make the OG tiles. Next up is the potion vendor stand. When I made this one, I was so proud of it. I kind of still am, but I remember thinking I don't know how I could ever do wood better than this. But it is kind of crude, it's got some problems with scale, the video quality itself is pretty bad, so I'm going to give this a B tier. Cave tiles, the first real variant on the 2.5 inch tile form factor. I love how these came out, and I do to this day. I think the use of tin foil, which I think I stole from DMG Info, it still slaps today, so I'm going to put that in A tier. Then we have how to make cardstock miniatures for Dungeons & Dragons and Warhammer. This one currently has over 340,000 views. It's one of the most viewed videos on my channel. And going back, the video quality itself is kind of potato-ish, but other than that, I wouldn't change the way I presented anything, so I'm gonna go alpha tier on that. How to make Tavern tiles. I was real big on the tile variants in the beginning. There's a bunch I do differently about these, but I put a lot of energy into them at the time, and I'm still proud of this video. I'll give it Bravo tier. And then the display shrine. I knew then that I was just trying to fill content. I had blitzed to get those first batch of videos out. This thing really could have been done in about 30 seconds. This goes in tier C. Then the durability test of cardboard modular tiles. This one goes in S tier for obvious reasons. Water tiles. These water tiles are highly stylized, and maybe it goes with the look, but overall, I would never do them this way today. I'd never recommend it either. These go in tier D. The Evil Portal Clip-On. I still have this in my collection today. It still looks great. This goes in A tier. I think it's also the first thing that I ever bejeweled just for the sake of it. Moving on, how to make stairs for Dungeons & Dragons. This is a 9-minute video to make these. Completely unnecessary, they don't look great. This is Delta tier. Wish I would redo this. Yep. Secret door clip-ons. The concept here was alright, the construction was very finicky and kind of fragile and not sustainable. I could have tried a lot harder on this. These get tier C. The Vault of Iptiz, my first published D&D module, which continues to sell to this day. However, it's not a real world shaker as far as view count goes, and the video quality, I still hadn't figured out what I was doing yet. It's pretty fuzzy, so I'm going to leave this short of S tier. This is going to go in A tier. How to make a magic ring prop for Dungeons & Dragons. In YouTubing, you got to stay in your lane. Props are different than miniature terrain. You got to focus on as niche a thing as possible. This was an attempt to branch out a little bit. No one liked it. The magic ring video goes in tier D. How to make a blacksmith forge for Dungeons and Dragons. I was still learning how to make terrain as I was making videos at the same time. This project was, well, you can see some of the newbie mistakes that newbies make, but I was still proud of it and still am. And the length I think is commensurate with the scale of the project. I'm going to leave this at B tier. It's fine. I would not do it the same way again, but it was fine. Castle tiles, another variant on the 2.5-inch tile. And really, they're not castle tiles, it's just an alternate stone tile. You could easily use it for a dungeon. I don't think I ever actually used them though. I'm going to leave this at B tier. It's fine, whatever. How to make scrolls and books, at least the first time that I did. Half the stuff in this video was not new. It was taken from other folks in the DM Scotty Crafts and Games Facebook group, nowadays what you know as the Tabletop Crafters Guild. I don't harbor regret about it. And although the current way that I do books and scrolls is so much better than this, I really was trying at the time. Straddling the fence between B and C. Let's put it at B. Create a D&D campaign using Magic the Gathering cards. This is a strange one. I get DMs probably once a month, even to this day, like what, 9 years later, of people wanting follow-ups to this one. And I get it, it was fun to make. And it's fun to actually do that, to use D&D cards and draw a campaign randomly, if you will. So I'm going to put that at A tier. However, I followed it up with how to make treasure piles for Dungeons and Dragons. This is a 3-minute video, and it basically just says, use some gold glitter. This one is Delta tier. I offered nothing new to the community with it. Delta. Alright, my first behind the scenes video. I've done several of these over the years. This first one I did all the way back in 2015. And you know what? I was the first one to do it, so I'm going to leave it at alpha tier. A. Yeah. How to make lava tiles for Dungeons and Dragons. I'm going to put this at B tier. This is still how I do coals and embers to this day. I don't think I'd make a whole tile in that way though anymore. So yeah, tier bravo. How to make sewer tiles. This video had the most persnickety detail with regard to measurements. I was still really into the accuracy back then, which you have to be if you're going to make a modular tile. You do have to be very accurate. I use the imperial system because I'm a dummy. And so I was going into like 30 seconds and 64ths of an inch. But the net result I was really happy with. They look really cool. I mean, they do look really cool in person. Given the effort I put in, and I'm still proud of those today, I'm going to put that in tier A. Moving on, how to make pillars for D&D. This goes in S tier. If you know, you know. Then I did a community interpretations video. This was showing off pictures of people who had made stuff based on the videos that I had done up to that point. It's cool to see people replicate the projects that you make, and we were still growing the whole community at that point. I was also starting to figure some things out as far as actual, like crafting, the actual technicianship. So I'm going to land this right at B tier. Fine. How to make cavern tiles. These go in S tier. I love these. I'm still happy with the result to this day. I was basically taking features of Dwarven Forge tiles, like pools attached to the walls and some gemstones, and copying that into cardboard and tin foil. These look great in person, they look great on screen. You can paint them up in any scheme to make a different kind of cavern, and these go in S tier. Julinda's Gauntlet, my second D&D module, also still sells alright to this day. If I were grading this just on the merits of the adventure itself, the whole time travel thing and moving alongside yourself in parallel, two versions of the same party, one in the past, which the players did earlier that evening. It's always a lot of fun. But the video itself, video has some issues which leave this short. It's going to go in tier A. How to make metal door clip-ons. Once again, kind of phoning it in. 3.5-minute video for a result that you could reproduce just by looking at a picture. Tier D. I want this one back. You'll see we're going into a stretch of clip-on craziness, and it's for good reason. The clip-ons are super fun to make, super fun to use, and again, they really put me on the map. This first set of traps is pretty cool. I'm going to put this at B tier. Good project, happy with it. But then, how to make archway clip-ons. This is a 3-minute video. The archways don't really look that good, and there's really nothing novel. This is tier Delta. I wish I could have this one back. How to make prop coins and currency. Now, more than any other video, as I was prepping to make this tier ranking video, this one gave me trouble. On the one hand, it's props. People really aren't interested in props from me. On the second, it is super fun to invent and then paint your own currency. On the third, I never used any of this in game. Also, the video quality itself, still not there. It does open with me doing a little bit of close-up magic, which is another one of my hobbies. There's so much that I like and don't like about this video. I think I just have to land it at a B, because I wasn't phoning it in, but I don't know if the result was really worth it. So we'll just land it at a Bravo. How to make single-wide dungeon tiles. The instruction for this one is right there in the title. It didn't need to be made. This is tier Delta. How to make dungeon dressing clip-ons. The first of several videos that would do 3 or 4 little mini projects, clip-ons for dungeons. This and the rest will probably land at tier B. How to make mine tiles. This one opened with a humorous runner where I thought that I was funny. It got kind of tedious. The way that the squares are done doesn't quite jive, and you can see the seams of the tiles as a result. I put a lot of thought into the design, but that doesn't mean that the thought was good or worthwhile. Still, I was trying to innovate and I was trying new things, so I'm not going to be too harsh on this one. I'm going to land it at a B tier. How to build a tavern/inn for Dungeons and Dragons. This was the first video I had that really took off kind of quickly right when I published it. As I recall, it's also the first video since I moved from the upstairs little bedroom down to the basement, so what would become my second studio. And I was actively working on upgrading my video and audio equipment, and this video showed it. A lot of techniques I stumbled on in this video, like shingles, I still do exactly the same way to this day. This one is in S tier. Moving on up to how to make cardstock armies for Warhammer. This is really just an extension of that previous cardstock video. I'm just going to group it with that and move on. How to draw isometric maps. I loved making this video. The video editing itself is sometimes fun and sometimes not. This one was. It was a challenge, and the engineer in me just liked the laying it out, whatever. I don't know, whatever. It's also a real popular one. This one is S tier. Followed immediately with how to make a prop puzzle. This one's based off of a simple kid's magic trick. I don't know why I made this video. This is D tier. If there were an E tier, it would be that. How to make futuristic tiles. My first foray into like a sci-fi thing. But I rushed these. I remember thinking, these don't look great. There's a lot more I could and should do with them. But I'm just going to get the video out. So this goes in the D bin. How to make cardstock Neretica miniatures for Kings of War. For a very brief time, I was really into Kings of War. I was also still pre-miniatures phase doing cardstock. Still, some of the techniques I did here to fake a 2.5D approach to a miniature army fully made of cardstock, I'm going to leave it at C tier. How to make trees. With a few adjustments, these could have been a little bit better. I look back and the result is not great now, but when making them, this was a pivotal moment for me as far as really anything to do with nature. So I'm going to leave it at, I'm going to put it at a B tier. How to build an airship. I'm very proud of this one. Up to date, at that time, this was the most ambitious project I had ever attempted. It was designed completely from scratch, and I learned the power of watered down white glue on various forms of paper and how you can get forms out of them. Also, people download the template for this one all the time, like multiple times per week, so I know it still gets traction. This one's an A tier. How to make platforms or wooden scaffolding. Really pretty basic stuff here, not really necessary at this point in the channel's life. This one I'm going to put in C. A few videos about the Kickstarter for true tiles. I'm just going to group all of those together and put them in B tier. I was basically using my channel to advertise a Kickstarter, but a great Kickstarter and one whose products continue to sell at retail to this day with consistency. And then the pilgrimage, visiting DM Scotty and doing a tour of his basement. For some reason, people didn't watch this video, but it's pretty legendary. I mean, you get to see the Craft Father's house. This one is S tier. I don't care what anyone says. Crafting an encounter, Underdark. I had this idea to start doing encounter videos, so take terrain that I've already made some other time in the channel, combine it in a certain way to come up with an encounter for the night. So there would be like crafting tutorial videos and encounter videos and a few other types. This was one for the Underdark. Thing is, very little about it actually screams Underdark. It just looks like a mine. And the whole concept is frankly kind of lazy. I'm gonna give this, well, it's not a horrible video. It's not doing any harm by being out there. So I'm gonna put it at a C tier. How to make a ruined corner for Dungeons and Dragons. This is just rubble. It's a ruined corner. I think it was the first time I ever tried to do like hand carving with foam and really experiment with foam, but there was absolutely nothing novel about this video. The internet does not need it. This one is D tier easily. How to make a throne clip-on for D&D. Here we have another video with clip-on features, except it's just one clip-on feature, and it does not look good at all. It's painted flat, there's no shading or highlighting, it's fragile, it's just not good. That one is tier D. Exploring more cardstock armies for Kings of War. Just more of the same. I'm going to group that again with the cardstock minis. How to make a dreadnought proxy for Warhammer 40k. Once again, I was all into the Poorhammer and cardstock and cheap handmade proxy stuff for wargaming. Jazzed at the time. It got me through a year. When I discovered real minis, all that went out the window. Still, I look back and this dreadnought does not look good. Which is weird because I actually spent a lot of time on it, and I remember I was very proud of it when it came out, but now I don't think it sets the right tone. I'm going to give this tier D. Same for the next one, which is the Necron Annihilation Barge. To be clear, I don't think there's anything wrong with handmade models, scratch-built models to use in lieu of official models for a given game system, if they're done well. This and all the Poorhammer proxies I did don't look good at all. They look like trash that's been assembled. So this one also goes in the D bin. How to design and build custom lighting for D&D. This is a video that I would basically revisit and redo later on, but it's an important one. It's a video that at the time of the ring of YouTube D&D miniature crafters, I think I was uniquely equipped to be able to provide. And I put a tremendous amount of energy into making this video. But anyway, I'm going to put this at A tier. How to make a chemical spill for Warhammer 40k. I was experimenting with a rust texture here and doing more complex ground, other than just painting it brown. I was trying out a few new things here, moving from beginner to intermediate in my terrain making abilities. So I'm going to put this at B tier. How to make a rhino or razorback proxy for Warhammer 40k. This one, okay, I already talked about all that. However, this one actually came out okay. I'm going to put this at B tier. It has some charm to it, and there's some little bits in there that I thought was pretty clever. How to make a power station. Here, I was still solidifying my look. I was starting to get a signature for my sci-fi type terrain, and I have no complaints about this one. I'm going to give it B. Yeah, B tier. Eldar Falcon proxy for Warhammer 40k. Yeah, same as before. Delta. How to make an angelic portal clip-on. This is a follow-up to the evil portal clip-on way earlier in the channel. It's a little 3-minute video. It was kind of a throwaway idea, but I don't know, something about it resonates with me. And I still have it in my collection. I like this one. I'm going to put it at a B. How to make a fuel depot. Again, experimenting with rust, trying to make things a little more realistic, moving from beginner to intermediate. I think this is a worthwhile video, a usable entrant to the conversation. We'll leave it at a B tier. How to make an Eldar Wraithlord proxy. This thing was fragile as hell, and it looked hilarious. D tier. How to make a Necron Monolith proxy. Here I have to actually pause a moment. This one also, people still make to this day. I get several people downloading the templates for this one from my shared drive every week. So it resonates with people. It doesn't look half bad. The proportions are right. I'm going to put this at BA? No, it's not A. This is a B tier. It's fine. Wylock's Armory relaunch. Just a video sort of trying to rebrand new AV equipment. I can't remember what this video was for, but it's probably of very little value. So D tier. How to make dungeon dressing clip-ons part 2. More clip-ons. B tier. Fine. How to make desert rock piles. This was in the midst of a blitz where I was trying to put out content at least once a week, running dry on ideas, and this one is basically a complete rip-off, a complete copy of someone else's video. I can't remember who it is. It's cited in the video description, but I don't know. I shouldn't have made this video. This is a Delta tier. Okay, Wylock recommends. This was part of a sub-series. I tried to do editorials, so there was going to be like recommends videos, editorial videos, non-crafting things. I probably did 24 of them or something. They didn't really work out. We're going to group all those together. So Wylock editorials in general go in Delta tier, and I'm just going to skip over the ones I have from here on. Okay, the April Fool's 2017 video, I partnered with DMG Info on that. I like April Fool's Day videos. It's a sense of occasion. It's fun for the creator, I'll tell you that. It's fun to just do something completely different and go off the rails. So I'll put that at B tier. How to scratch build an Imperial defense line for Warhammer 40k. These trenches I'm very happy with, and I think the level of detail was right, the video quality was getting better, the ideas were good. This one I'm so torn between A and B tier. I'm gonna go with A, because I think the final look that you get for the time investment required, the ratio there is really good on these. So these are A tier. How to make a Necron obelisk. My regrets around this one and a lot of my Necron terrain is I did the green glow using gradients, using an airbrush, but like there was always some other detail that I couldn't quite grasp, I couldn't quite finish. The blocks that are hovering off of this one have some gold glyphs on them. I used glitter for that instead of gold paint. It looks like a child's craft as a result. This is definitely not C or D, but I think it's definitely not A either, so B tier for the obelisk. How to make a land speeder proxy for Warhammer 40k. Yep, another proxy, but another one that the template gets downloaded a lot for. So I guess if someone out there is getting value out of it, it can't be a total D tier, so I'll leave it at a C. How to make modular magnetized dungeon tiles. Just trying to innovate technically here a little bit. It was my original tile design, but instead of using cardstock cladding, it's using magnet strip as the cladding. So you don't have to embed neodymium magnets. You just use that magnetic sheeting. I never seriously pursued this myself for my own collection. It was just an idea for people out there to try if they wanted. So it was a bit of a disingenuous video. So on that basis, I don't think I can leave it at a B, but a C is for places where I actively skimped. So maybe this has to go to D. Now I'm going to leave it at a B. A lot matters on where I put it. A lot. Okay, how to make a real working waterfall for your tabletop gaming. I had never seen anyone do this before on YouTube, and to date I think I might be the only one still. This video has over 640,000 views. It's the second most viewed video on all of my channel. When I put this one out, it was followed by a 3-month period where I gained about 50,000 subscribers. It was insane. So even though the video quality of this one ain't great, and the overall product doesn't look that good, it's just the novelty of having actual flowing water, I have to thank this video, so I'm gonna put it in S tier. How to make a stepped pyramid. This one wasn't intended to be anything fancy, just an interest piece that would be usable in my D&D or wargaming, and reusable. The thing is, the slopes were too steep, so miniatures wouldn't stand on there. But I'm not ashamed of it or anything, so I'm going to give this a B tier. Crafting easier tiles for Dungeons & Dragons. This is basically my original tiles with a couple of steps left out. I think it did help, well I know it did because I've seen people post pictures over the years. So I'm going to put this at a B. Yeah, B tier. Oh my god. So I know I was going to group all the editorials together, and here is one. So I'm not going to rank it, but look at the thumbnail. Look at that. I used to be a gentleman. Now look at me. Look. Look. Okay, how to scratch build Gothic buildings for Warhammer 40k. These buildings that Games Workshop produced were hard or impossible to find, or expensive, and I just thought to myself, well, this is what I do. Can I replicate them just by looking at the picture? And so I did, and here it is with 180,000 views. And although with everything I've learned and know now, I would go a little further with these buildings for details and paint jobs, the video stands on its own today. It still works. It's a good core, it's a good skeleton of the concept. I'm going to put this at S tier. How to make an Aquila placard for your 40k table. I made this for my friend Jason, quick little 2-minute video, sort of a tips and tricks sort of thing. I think it's neat. It does look the part in person of being a metal placard. It's a cool adornment for your wargame table. I'll leave it at a B tier. How to make a baleful realm gate for Warhammer Dungeons & Dragons. This again was me looking at official picture of Games Workshop terrain and trying to replicate it on my own. It came out real good and I'm putting it in tier A. The glowing void shield generator. Here I was able to really start leveraging the community. The Facebook group was getting bigger. I think we had rebranded by that point. I can't remember. But you had people posting great ideas all over the place. Someone used those Christmas icicle lights in a void shield generator. And I credited them in the video, but I made my own and did a video about it. And what's it got? 77,000 views. Not a haymaker, but it's right back there on the shelf. Still with me to this day. I love this piece and I'm going to leave it at A tier. I would give it S tier, but it's not technically innovative. I'm expanding on someone else's idea, so I'm going to leave it at A tier. Even more dungeon dressing clip-ons. I think this had 4 or 5 little features in it. Fine, B tier. Encounter, the color of magic. Here's another, the second and I think final video of the Encounter sub-series that would never be finished. This is a room from my favorite D&D module, the Labyrinth of Madness, which I plan to do a video on, or series on, sometime in the mid-future. But anyway, again, this was combining stuff that I already had. It's harmless, I'll make it B tier. How to make giant necron crystals for Warhammer 40k. Pretty simple concept. A lot of people were doing it before me, a lot have done it after me. The paint scheme is good, but it's tried and true. I mean, I'm just going to leave it at B tier. The Sins of Silvervale, my third D&D module, also still gets purchased to this day. This one was real fun because I used a terrain set that I didn't make. A viewer of my channel started a small business molding tiles that matched my form factor and sent me this box, this kit with the entire dungeon in it. So this definitely goes to A tier. All right, what's next? S tier. How to make the planar map room from Lavok's Sphere for D&D. So in Baldur's Gate 2, you have Lavok's Sphere, and one of the rooms in there has a portal which you can configure to go to different planes. So these tapestries on the wall sort of code, I don't remember how it works, but the bottom has this insertable picture. So whatever plane you're going to, you just print a picture, put it on some foam and insert it. The terrain's quite reusable in that way. It could be part of a high-level party's home base or something. I thought it was innovative. I put a lot of effort into it. That thing aside, the look of the room is pretty good. So I'm straddling A and S tier. I think it needs to go to A though. A tier. How to make an alchemist's workshop. One of my big fixations is real miniature stuff, potions and scrolls and books and jewels and, fantasy loot. Here's me playing with it, but the end result isn't real cohesive. Despite putting decent time and effort into this and being real interested in the material, the end result and the video just didn't come out great. I'm going to give this a D, not out of shame, but just wishing I could have done better with it. How to build a crafting bench for hobbying. This was just me filming for filler. I don't know, this is D tier. Introduction to hobby model and terrain airbrushing. We'll just make it a B tier. How to make a prop Hylian shield. Okay, we know how we feel about props, but this one also goes in S tier for obvious reasons. How to make a gallows for D&D. This gallows has a functioning trapdoor, which I thought would be a neat little gimmick, but no one else did. It's had 10,000 views in the past 6 years, but it looks fine, and I don't know, just leave it at a B. How to make Necron portal objective markers for Warhammer 40k. These draw oohs and ahs whenever I break them out. And I love the way they look. This is going to be a bit of a dark horse pick, maybe a surprise, but I'm putting them all the way up at S tier. Alright then, how to make a summoning circle for D&D. I was running gag in this video about competing with DM Jim, the tabletop engineer. I think I had some really cool ideas in this one, but they just didn't quite gel together in the final result. The product needed something a little more, some detailing, maybe some edge highlighting, a more natural integration of the bauble and the chain. Something about it doesn't tie together. I wish I would have done this project up a little better. This one goes in D tier. How to make interlocking modular dungeon tiles. So going back to the OG tile look, but this time with the slot and tab system glued on the bottom. Seen a lot of people do this since. YouTubers have adopted this as well. And I would use it later on in other videos for, well, I'll talk when we get there, roads and stuff. So this was a haymaker. It's going to go at S tier. How to make generic crags or hills. A necessity for anyone's terrain collection. Mine still look good to this day. They fit on most any environment. They've aged well. I'm going to put this at A tier. How to make Eldar objective markers. This was me looking at, I think, a Reddit post or something. I was inspired by someone else's work and made these, but they don't look real cohesive. I probably could have put in more effort on this. These are C tier. How to make bridge tiles. This is, once again, my OG dungeon tiles, but with some arches on the sides. But they're durable, they look good, and I mean, the people wanted more expansion content, so I'll put these at a B. How to make AdMech objective markers. Another one I was psyched about, another one that holds up to this day, another one that was inspired by someone else in the community. So this gets an A. The episode 100 celebration. This was 19 minutes of pure just goofing around. Cringe factor maximum. It's still available in the All Crafting Videos playlist. It's just unlisted. Still, I don't recommend you go and watch it. D-list. Interlocking roads, Forge World style. Another Games Workshop terrain that I tried to replicate just by looking at it. And another one with lots of viewership and lots of benefit out there. Still not a haymaker, so A-list. How to make a Dwarven Archway clip-on. It's a succinct video, 5.5 minutes. It's a triple-sized clip-on, but I remember trying to go beyond the bare minimum, going past just the first idea that pops into mind and adding a little more detail than I thought necessary, and the end product looks pretty good. I'm going to give this B tier. How to make a necron tomb. A very solid project, designed specifically with miniature bases in mind to ensure lots of playable area. I'm also glad I invested the effort required with that hex stencil, and the overall finish is just good. I'm going to give this a tier A. Then reviewing Mantic Terrain Crate. This was a big community event, lots of channels posting their video on the same day, reviewing the same product. It's easy, anyone can do it. I'm going to put this on the C list, tier C. How to make fences for Warhammer 40k, or really just modern or sci-fi fences. The use of the popsicle stick as a base which won't warp, and the overall simplicity, very few components needed, and a decent looking result makes me happy with these. I'm going to put them on the B list. How to make a miniature display case. Cute little project, fun enough, harmless. I'm going to put that on B tier. How to build a Shrine of the Aquila for Warhammer 40k, an expansion of the Gothic videos building from earlier. Similar quality, similar viewership. However, the massive eagle head that sticks out the front of the building could have had a little more effort put into it. Also, the buildings are foam core, the cheap dollar store foam core, so they're really quite fragile and lightweight. They shift around easily. It straddles A and B, but I'm going to go with B tier. Painting a Primaris salamander. This was me doing my very best at the time to paint a miniature without speed painting, applying all of my skill, edge highlighting to the extent that I could. And it was a fun crossover with Miniac. But ultimately, they say stay in your lane, and I probably should. I'm not a miniature painting channel. I'm not a miniature painter, and I'm never going to be. This straddles a B and a C, but let's go with B tier. How to build your own custom miniature storage box. A sleeper hit. A lot of viewership on this one. And if I'm honest, a pretty good idea. I'm going to put this in A tier. How to make wreckage scatter for 40k. Taking a look at these, they are absolutely nothing special. It is supposed to be trash and wreckage scattered, but there's nothing tying this together. It just looks like stuff glued on there with no coherency. And I knew that when I was making it. This one goes in Delta. How to craft with precision. Little 5-minute video with some tips on how to get good angles and straight cuts and use tools better. Very low viewership, which I guess is understandable, but it's an easy one to copy paste in whenever someone asks a question like, I'm not getting the results that you get. So we'll call this B tier. How to make easier tavern tiles. Trying to make things a little easier, approximate the effect of the earlier tavern tiles in an easier way. Whatever, it's B tier. Same with the next one, how to make tavern dressing. Oh wow, I completely forgot about this. The glass city of Prisia. I took this to Mace. And the fundamental idea was a very tall city made of glass. Despite it being a real big, colorful build that I put a lot of time in, the net result was kind of hodgepodge. It didn't come out real great. Somehow it still feels like I rushed it. I'm going to put this on D tier. How to scratch build Sector Mechanicus Walkways. 280,000 views. And the one video that I get the most DMs and thank yous and stuff for, the one thing that I think people have built more than anything else from the channel. So this goes in S tier. Making a Necron tomb world out of packing inserts. Yeah, more Necron terrain, but they're really just packing inserts, spray primed with black, and then highlighted up the Necron colors with an airbrush. No other effort beyond that, so it shows the concept at scale, but could have gone further. We'll call it B tier. How to make a stained glass window clip-on. Short video dedicated to a single clip-on, using Sharpies to color clear packing plastic. It's a simple idea. It looks okay, commensurate with the energy you put in. Harmless enough. B tier. How to make a pipe organ. Same thing. Simple idea, simple execution, simple video. B tier. Now we come to the first of many battle reports for one-page rules. As some of you may know, the Armory here was the first channel to adopt and proselytize the greatness of one-page rules, back then called One-Page 40K, since renamed to Grimdark Future. But I've been on one-page rules since like 2018 or even before that. This was probably the first battle report that anybody ever did of any of their systems. So we're going to group all battle reports together and just call that one entry. And we're going to call those S tier because they had a huge impact on the community. Lots of other channels have caught on. Business is booming because their monthly model subscription, it's fantastic. So by the way, if you don't know what I'm talking about, Google one-page rules. It'll change your life. How to craft Underdark tiles for Dungeons & Dragons. Not just another tile variant. These came out really, really good, and I'm going to put them at S tier. Followed up immediately with how to make your own DM screen with custom inserts, making a DM screen out of cardboard. And it has the channels on the outside so you can insert stuff. Okay, kind of novel, but it's cardboard. Cardboard hinges don't last long. This project was not a good idea. This is D tier. Wish I had this back. We have the 2019 April Fool's video. We'll give that B tier. Crippled God Foundry miniatures. So this was the collector set featuring the 5 guildmasters for the Tabletop Crafters Guild group. Very much a vanity video, although aren't they all? But it's proselytizing a startup. Good to do. Bravo tier. How to make Underdark scatter terrain. This one goes hand in hand with the Underdark tiles a moment ago, so that also gets S tier. Expansions for scratch-built Sector Mechanicus Walkways. 18 more minutes of interesting ways to have new clip-ons for those walkways, whatever, but it goes hand in hand with the walkways video itself, so we'll bundle that up at S tier. How to craft a beholder from a ping pong ball. 127,000 views, one of my personal top 5 favorite videos I've ever made, absolutely gets S tier. How to craft an Umber Hulk from seashells. This was a phase where I was trying to get better at seeing common objects in a different way, seeing what they could be. DM Scotty is the king of this, and this was me trying to branch out. The thing ended up way too big, scale-wise, but I don't know, I learned some things, and it's certainly not something you'd look at and think, oh, Wylock made that. It looks different, so I'll give it a B tier. How to make volcanic lava terrain. I think any terrain tutorial channel is going to have a token how to make volcanic or lava type stuff. Mine are perfectly serviceable. They're a bit stylized. They don't look realistic. If I were to make or remake a set today, I would try some things different, but I've seen lots of people get good mileage out of this, so I'm going to put it at A tier. The Lost Tomb of Caim from Out of the Abyss. This was a 2-page dungeon you'll find in the Out of the Abyss campaign book. And it was showing off how I was able to put together a small dungeon shortly before game time. The small bit of content that's new was just showing how you can do things very quickly. They don't need to be fancy. I guess it was showing off that concept. The net result is kind of ho-hum. So whatever, this is B tier. Scratch building an Imperial Knight proxy for Warhammer 40K. This thing was really fun to make. It ended up being a bit fragile. It more served as a personal exercise, like a weightlifter might go lift weights. This was just to flex the creative juices or whatever. As a project, as a video, it's fine. Let's give it a B. B tier. Hold of the Deep King from Out of the Abyss. This is my interpretation of the Hold of the Deep King. It's kind of bland looking, but it is an underground dwarven fortress, so, it's going to be a lot of dark stone and lava. But I like the result, and I've gotten some reuse out of it, so I'm going to put it on B tier. Kit bashing a water weird miniature. So it's kind of out of the blue. I had leftover bits lying around, and I don't know why I picked this particular monster when there's so many other great ones in the D&D pantheon to choose. Well, I do know why, because I was just filling time. This one is fine, but I wasn't really trying. This is a C tier. How to make jungle scatter terrain. I think these look great. They don't necessarily look realistic, but they're really fun to look at. And when you put a miniature down there at scale, I don't know, they just kind of work. So let's land this one at A tier. Scratch building a teleportarium chamber for 40k. So this project, I think this picture right here actually, got me on the Warhammer 40k subreddit. It's not the official one, but it's the big one that has over 1 million members. This ended up at the very top of the hot page, or however it works, for 36 hours. It was me. I was at the top of the Warhammer 40k subreddit with this thing. So on that basis alone, this gets S tier. Building a Duragar wagon. Another one where I was trying to branch out and also work a little slowly and enjoy the detail work. I also like that the horses are actually spiders. Not a wildly popular video, but one of the better results I've ever been able to get out of my workshop. So this goes at A tier. Cheap and fast DIY Prometheum pipes for Warhammer 40k. Anytime we can reproduce an official project with junk, it's a good day, right? I was also really coming into my own understanding how to use the airbrush to give things bloom and glow. So I have to put this on A tier. Same for the next one, cheap and fast DIY bunkers for 40k using plastic electrical gang boxes. It was actually DM Jim, the tabletop engineer again, who had given me that idea. But the paint scheme that I used here, I thought was particularly helpful for fellow amateurs or people who are looking for speed builds. So I'm going to put this one at A tier as well. Scratch building a hyperspace oubliette for Necron death marks. Like the teleportarium before, this one was very popular. Didn't sit at the top, but it was trending hard for a day on that subreddit. And it got me thinking, wow, I'm eventually going to build all of the reserve scenery for all the armies in 40k, which I didn't, but anyway, I'm going to put this at tier A. And then the Hellsphere, demonic chaos terrain for 40k. So it's all centered around the ball at the middle of some fake foliage from Michael's. It's a spiky sphere, and I said, I got to do something with this. So I built this and called it the Hellsphere. Eventually, I gave it to Jeremy at Black Magic Craft to do something with. But the quality of the result on this one and the extra effort I put into the paint and putting things at angles so it looks a little more natural, I learned a lot here, and so I'm going to give this one A tier. Then I was filling time. How to make Eldritch Chaos Tentacles. These are just stolen from a Star Wars toy and painted and put into some cork. Very, very low effort. This has to go on C list. Likewise, for the next one, scratch building an Eldritch or Chaos Portal. This was just an excuse to paint a nebula with my airbrush. Really not much to it. This also goes on C list. Alright, and then we have part 1 of the Tomb of Horrors build. 10 videos plus the 11th one, which is just the compilation of all 10. That one, the 3-hour compilation, recently exceeded 1 million views. It's my first video to get over 1 million views. So that one certainly goes on S tier. Alright, scratch building a Noctilith crown. More Games Workshop terrain, trying to build it just by looking at it. And this one probably came out better than any I've ever attempted. I know the viewership is low on this one, but it looks incredible in person. It's a personal top 5. I'm very proud of this one. I'm putting it on S tier. Building a profane altar. Those skulls you'll find in the craft store around Halloween. Always fun to pick them up and say you're going to do something with them. I basically built some hunks of foam around it, I poured some red resin, like blood. It doesn't all really like gel together. Something about it doesn't quite work. So despite the epicness and how in theory it should be awesome, it's just B tier. I'm going to call it B tier. April Fool's 2020. People love this video. This is stuff that crafters say. So on that basis alone, we're going to go with S tier. Painting Demogorgon from Out of the Abyss. This is the model from Gale Force 9. I think it was a limited run, but it's simply me painting a miniature, just a very big miniature. And I did a good job. It's right at what I think you'd call the upper end of a tabletop standard. Still, I should stay in lane. I don't think anybody much benefited from this video. I'm gonna call this a D list. The Extractor. More big futuristic terrain. This was bringing all my guns to bear and all the tips and tricks I could think of to industrialize the look. Also, I think it's in this video that I invented the graphics medium chipboard I-beam, which you'll see pop up now and then. So for overall result and its influence, I'm going to put this on A tier. Building a communication station. I was on a kick from the Extractor, so this one aesthetically looks like it's in the same family. The posable dish is a really fun gimmick, and I'm straddling A tier or S tier, but I think it's got to go with A tier. Crafting a miniature throne. Truth be told, this throne could have been in whatever Tomb of Horrors episode I made it for, but it was done early and I figured I'd try and get 2 videos out of it, so I did this short one just about the throne. But it looks really cool, so I'm going to put this on A tier. Simple forest terrain, so trees on bases. I hate doing trees. This is B tier at best. Ultramarines on parade. Actually, I have several parade videos for my 40k armies, just showing them off. That's a thing that people do. Harmless. We'll put that on B list. Tyrannid objective markers. This is just leftover Tyrannid bits glued to a base. Not particularly special there. I'm going to give this D list. Kind of wish I had never bothered with this. One-page rules, the best free alternative to 40k. All right, so again, at some point, I was talking to the creator, and he asked about doing sort of a baseline, how to play, here's what it is video. And coincidentally, I had already been working on one. It was a really bizarre coincidence, but very important video, so let's put it on alpha tier. Building a dice tray in 10 minutes or less. Shows you how to hot glue together some scrap balsa or cardboard, and then put a mouse pad in the middle. Easy, harmless, B tier. A Diesel Punk Sky Train. This was a craft off versus Frankie D Crafter, another YouTube channel. This was a very complex project, and a lot of my energy went into the planning, the electronics, finding ways to make sure that the interior would be playable in a fun and meaningful way, to the point that some of the details are kind of crude looking. This could have been something really, really special, but it ends up just on A tier. Building an orc readout. Now, this was my first attempt at orc terrain, and I was shocked at how good it came out. Orc terrain is very forgiving. You actually want to make mistakes. It's welcomed. But this would start a fixation on orcs for a little bit. And the overall look and durability and how it jives with my orc army is just, I think this was a key moment for myself where I began to move from intermediate into the very bottom of like an advanced terrain maker. So given the significance of that, I'm going to call that S tier. We have the video where I announced my hiatus and then the video where I came back. We're going to skip those. Scratch building a bolter assembly line. I would give this S tier, but it's heresy, so let's give it A tier. Who Needs Wormwood DIY table glow up? Just showing off how I made my new gaming table. B tier. Let's build a Mind Flayer lair. Built an entire Mind Flayer lair. This video is another one of my top 5 favorites. I don't know why it's not bigger than it is. If there was anything above S tier, I would put this there. So absolutely, the Mind Flayer lair is S tier. Crafting a better beholder. Just taking that ping pong ball design from that previous video and making a few tweaks to make it a little better. So we group that in. This is also S tier. A defense laser. So these used battery-powered twisty underwater flares and orange juice caps cut in half to make these gothic-looking surface-to-space defense lasers that actually glow. I'm really on the fence on this one. It's either S or A. I think we'll go with A. These are A tier. An orc crane. Again, more orc stuff. I applied the same lessons and I got the same look. Let's call this A tier. Modrons. Scratch building all 5 of the lowest tier Modrons in 28mm scale. Really fun little project with a really good looking result. So I have to go with A tier for this. The first episode of White Plume Mountain. So again, we'll take all 6 episodes plus the 7th one, which is the compilation. All that together. So White Plume Mountain, S tier, absolutely. The comprehensive newbie crash course for DIY terrain for Dungeons and Dragons. 336,000 views. My AV tech was pretty modernized at this point, so was my narration style and my video editing, and this one has meant a lot to a lot of people. This one goes on S tier. The Battle for Blingdenstone. This one doesn't say encounter : but really that's what it is. And it's fine. I showed how to make some oozes and some other sorts of cavern walls. But it's not special. No one's talking about it. So we put it at B tier. I made a D&D character portfolio out of an old backgammon set. Short video, quick little idea, self-explanatory, and worth sharing. We'll put that on B tier. Inside a giant tree in the Feywild. This one is absolutely magical in person. I gave it away at Mace. I can't remember what year or to who. Maybe it was a prize for something. So I don't have it anymore, but this was a very fun collaboration with a few other YouTubers, and the result is just absolutely fantastic. I think I'm going to put this one at S tier. Gaslands Hot Wheel conversions. Truth be told, I've not played Gaslands and had no intention to, but I did play one-page rules Wasteland Racing. That's what these are for. Gaslands was just because that's a more recognized name. This was something very different for me, and it was a lot of fun. Good way to use up some bits. Let's put this at B tier. The Comprehensive Newbie Guide to LEDs in Miniatures Terrain. Another one that has meant a lot to a lot of people. I'm also very proud of this one, leveraging my background as an engineer, my interest in electronics, how much I enjoy using a soldering iron. So this one is going to go in S tier. Langdedrosa Cyanwrath. Here I'm just painting a miniature that I had 3D printed. It was a filler video, and I knew that at the time. This is C list. The XP90 Security Bot. So Neon Skies was well past concept at this point and into first version of rules and play testing. The lore was also heavily under construction, so I built the security bot. It was in my mind's eye. It came out great and it's a fun video, so I'm going to make that A list. Building an entire orc outpost in 8 hours or less. More of the same, more orc stuff, looks good, and big, huge, epic result filling a 4x8 table to boot. So we'll put that on A tier. Audiobook for Return to the Tomb of Horrors, which I still haven't finished. I've done about half that book. Thing is, oh wow, 37,000 views. So maybe it is worth finishing. But I've been trying to bolster viewership, get people to click videos so that we get positive spiral in the algorithm. And I was just trying new things. I was like, how about an audiobook? So we'll just put that in B tier. The Cyberpunk City Block. Other than the 2 dungeon mega builds, this is probably the most ambitious project I ever attempted. Whenever I needed to get in the vibe, get in the mood to work on Neon Skies, I could work on this project, and once it was done, I could just look at it. I've taken it to conferences, and it drops jaws. This one definitely goes on S tier. Then we come to the big reboot. So my D&D crafting essentials, starting out with modular tiles, new style of tile. From here on out, I really start focusing on presentation, keeping my voice up and down, keeping it interesting, high quality video, high quality audio. I was really trying to start to take the next step to get the channel to grow. And it's a good video. We're going to land that at tier A. Same with the next one, doors for crafting essentials. And the next one, treasure and loot. 160,000 views on that one. Some rehashed content, some new ideas. Overall, nothing revolutionary there, but a good high quality compilation a good entry to an essentials list. So alpha tier. And architectural features right after that. This video expanding on the dungeon features. So alpha tier. Crafting your own proxen tools, quick and cheap. I made this video quick and cheap as well, but I get lots of thank yous for this one in comments and in DMs. So if people are going out of their way to do that, it must be important. So S tier for building your own proxen tools. Printing an ancient red dragon. This was to show off a 3D printer. So it was advertainment, if you will. There was probably better ways to do that. And the model doesn't look good where the parts join together. And the paint job is really, really basic. This one is D tier. I would redo this one. Books, furniture, and a drow ritual table. So more in the D&D crafting essentials, more ideas, more A tier. I painted all 5 chromatic dragons. So not just the red one, this one doing the other 4. The blue and the black one I'm particularly proud of. The green one is alright also. The red and the white don't look good. But the video had no instruction. It was all lore, like me reciting lore of the dragons as I was painting them. Again, just trying new things. Let's just go with B tier for this one. Caverns in the D&D Crafting Essentials series. More 2.5D stuff inspired by Scotty and Professor Dungeon Master. Useful, not real revolutionary. I'm actually going to go with B list for this one. Taverns and miniature food. The 5th of my top 5 personal favorites of all time, and one that people go nuts for. So this one has to go on S tier. This one's special. The next one, the Wizard Lab and Orrery. More D&D essentials, more alpha tier. The XP 120 security bot. Similar story to the 90. Actually, you know what? Hang on. The use of the Nerf guns here and the Star Wars ship. I actually want to credit myself on this one. I'm gonna bump this one up to S tier. The XP 120 is S tier. And now we come to the first of the Baldur's Gate series. So to date, I think I've got 11 or 12 videos in this series, building stuff from the first 2 Baldur's Gate games. These are massively fun. Just the act of working on them takes me back to my childhood. The Building Baldur's Gate series goes in S tier. My spicy or unpopular Dungeons & Dragons opinions. This was a filler episode. It's just a talking head video. They're very easy to do, require no editing. And I was testing the waters to see if there was any appetite out there for me commentating on gaming and stuff as opposed to just doing my terrain crafting thing. And it went alright. We'll go with B tier. Dollar store baler conversion. Taking a toy and converting it into a baler. The flame whip on it alone makes it A tier. Building a Daedric shrine. This one, here's the thing. It doesn't read as Daedric. There's those shrines in Skyrim up in the mountains you can go in, and that's kind of what I had in my mind's eye, but really Morrowind, which is the superior game, Daedric stuff doesn't look like this at all. I completely missed the mark here. This goes on the D list. I suck at miniature painting. Army Painter speed paints changed my life. 200,000 views. This is advertainment for Army Painter, but everyone knows how I feel about Army Painter. You know, I'm not a shill. I'll say right now, I'll go on record and say Games Workshop, Vallejo, P3, all the other ones. I'm sure you're fine, but I have no interest in working with you, and I won't. I'm an Army Painter man. There it is. I'm committing to it. I truly believe in their products. So anyway, for this video showing off speed paints, hopefully people got value in that, and there's lots like me out there that are normies. Let's just put this at B tier, because it is advertainment. Reject NFTs. Okay, so what's your Tempest? This was a experimental video. I was just feeling saucy one day. Really disgusted at the very notion of an NFT and what it is. Or at least what I think it is. Does anyone really know? But that's not what people were looking for. And really, I probably didn't need to say it. Let's just put that on D list. Up next, Arthan's Tomb, a full D&D dungeon. This is not a published module, at least not yet, but it's a full layout like the Vault of Iptiz or Julinda's Gauntlet. Nothing wrong with it. It's not particularly popular, so we'll give that B tier. How do you actually manage D&D terrain during game time? This was a 6-minute video all about a cardboard box and cutting some inserts for it. The people who did watch it seemed to really like it, so we'll put that on B tier. Zacer's Readout, another D&D full walkthrough, part of the same campaign I'm developing that has the Arthan's Tomb from a moment ago. Same thing, let's just go with Bravo tier. Metastable Material Machines, getting into a kick on Neon Skies terrain. I was heavy toward the Kickstarter at this point, and these came out really nice, but not legendarily so. So I'm gonna have to reserve and keep them on A list, A tier. Same for the next one, the Habitation Blocks. They look cool and mass. There's some things about the design that I would do differently, but the net effect is there. They nail the aesthetic that I was going for, so we're gonna put them on A tier. Then we have the Tiny Pool Table for a cyberpunk bar. This one was super fun, and the result I think looks very good. I'm gonna do another upward push here. This one is a shocker. It's gonna go on S tier. Yeah, the pool table goes on S tier. Okay, a couple Neon Skies advertisements. Okay, assessing the artwork of the new D&D book covers. They had just released the covers for the upcoming 5.5e books, and I had some opinions on them, and I talked about them, and nobody cared, and so I hid it. So that's D list. Building an alleyway diorama. Good, fun, simple, solid little project. My first foray in anything like modern, so we'll call that Bravo tier. Yeah, B tier. The Elven Shrine. I love how this thing came out. I probably spent a good week on it, but everything just kind of clicked. And the way the golden light shines down from inside the dome is just fantastic. I'm going to push this up to S tier. All right, unboxing the sealed D&D 2nd edition starter set. Again, experimenting with new kinds of videos. I'll give this B tier. The Lair of Ingolowaka Stimazillion, featuring Army Painter war paints. More advertainment, showing off the new War Paints Fanatic line. But I think I offered plenty of value as well, showing some ideas on how to paint an ice dragon. As of right now, the contest and the voting is still ongoing. I didn't vote for my own, but I'm still happy with how it came out. And the backdrop too. Let's put this at alpha tier. Then the ultimate guide to miniature furniture. And the video is just packed with all kinds of ideas. I intended this as kind of my personal final say on an issue, and I'm going to put this up at S tier. And that brings us to the renovation video, which is the end of the line. Fun trip down memory lane. Thanks for watching today. I am Wylock. Make things, play games.